Hello, I'm Scott Bogey here with Joy Pendall ahead of her fight against Carleen Chandler. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you feeling ahead of this fight? Because this isn't the first time you fought Carleen.
Correct. This is the third time we've fought. I have a TKO finish over her. She has a rear naked choke finish over me, and this will be our trilogy match. So I'm feeling excited. It's going to be a good fight, and I'm feeling prepared. I've had a good camp.
Exactly. And with that second fight, yes, you was able to get the victory due to that submission, but you were winning the first two rounds. Is there anything where you were just hoping you could have just held on and get that victory?
Yeah, I just got a little too aggressive in the third round there, trying to go for another takedown and get her back on the canvas. And that little bit of over aggression allowed the opportunity for her to jump on my back, and that mistake is where I went wrong and allowed her the opportunity to win the fight. But before then, I mean, I was handily beating her in the first and second round. The second round was definitely a 10-8 round. Um, so I feel good. Obviously, I feel confident. I do feel I am the better fighter in all ways, on the ground and on the feet. But a fight's a fight, and anything can happen.
Yeah.
And she trains every bit as hard as I do. Maybe not, but I'm gonna assume she does. So I don't take her lightly. I don't take the fight lightly. But yeah, I'm prepared, and I'm very, very much looking forward to having my opportunity to run it back.
And since that fight, you two have gone the opposite ways in your career. You've got two victories where she has got two defeats. Do you feel like that just shows that you have improved your game?
Yes, Jaylene was a good quality opponent, and so was Kaya, and I was able to outdo both of them on the feet and on the ground. Um, so I definitely see my improvements and feel my improvements. And I'm looking forward to showing off more of those improvements against Carleen. And the other thing is I would so much rather just get beaten fair and square than
Yeah.
me make a mistake and lose off of a mistake. So I'm really looking forward to the fight with Carleen. I don't sign up for fights because I want an easy path. I'm signing up for them because I want those tough fights. So if Carleen really has gotten that much better and just comes out there and beats my ass, then good for her. But I just don't expect that is going to be the case. I don't expect that's going to happen. Um, yeah, what I think's gonna happen is a lot like last time. Although I have to be prepared for anything, so I'm trying not to make any assumptions. Maybe she'll come out and try to strike with me. Maybe she'll come out and try to grapple. Um, I have no idea what her plan is, nor does it matter. I just have to be prepared everywhere and be ready everywhere, which I am.
Yeah, because when I was reading into you, you were a bit surprised at how she came out in that last fight between you two. Well, that you were thinking she was going to strike, and then she went for that grappling style.
I was. I learned a couple important lessons from that fight. For one, uh, it's it's I think to my benefit to not have a game plan, because I did expect her to want to stay on the feet and strike with me, and that's not what happened at all. She immediately clinched up and wanted to work in the clinch, which didn't really make any sense to me because I'm beating her so strongly in the clinch and kept taking her down. But even in the second round, she kept just wanting to go back there. She wasn't trying to strike with me at all. Um, so I guess I don't want to say it threw me off, but I guess it did a little bit. And then the other thing is, she's a fighter with a lot of bad energy. That's just kind of her shtick or her personality, I guess.
Yeah,
But in the cage, she's saying like "fuck you" and "you hit like a bitch," and she's like talking a lot of smack
yeah,
as we were fighting, which was kind of weird for me. But again, now I'm prepared for that, and in fact, I'm having my teammates, talk smack to me and call me a bitch and all that stuff in training. So that's kind of fun for my male teammates. They're like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on, lay it on me. Tell me I suck." They're like, "Okay." Um, But yeah, so it's just preparing mentally for the energy aspect of it, the bad energy aspect of it, and then again, I just have to be prepared for anything. And in my fights with Jaylene and with Kaya, I purposely had no game plan going in. I was like, the bell's gonna, the ref's gonna say, fighter, you ready? Fighter, you ready? Fight.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go out there, and what happens, happens. I just need to allow myself to get into my flow state, trust my instincts as a martial artist that, I am prepared for any situation. I'm prepared for anywhere the fight goes. And so I shouldn't have a preference, between striking or grappling or clinching. Like I'm just gonna take the path of least resistance, and I'm gonna beat my opponent everywhere.
And for the fight against Jaylene, you did bring in a sports psychologist. How has that improved your game?
That made a tremendous difference for me. Because the big takeaway that I learned from my sports psychologist is that I just need to stay present and again allow myself to get into my flow state. Um, when I start thinking about things too much, and this is true for everybody, the conscious part of your mind, the reasoning part of your mind starts, the wheels start turning, and that starts being activated, and it takes away from you just allowing yourself to do what you've been training to do. And so much of fighting is about reactions, and it's about feel, and it's about timing, and all those things need to just flow naturally. You can't force those things. You can't think about those things. You have to simply do the hard training and trust yourself, and just stay present, stay in that moment. And I do really strongly believe that I'm better than all of these girls on my best day. I mean, I believe I can beat any 145er on my best day. So if I just just allow myself to do my thing, get out of my own way. And working with
Yeah.
a sports psychologist really allowed me to do that. And the mental strategies that we talk about, I practice those in the training room in practice. That way, when I go to the fight, it's all the same.
Exactly. And is there any other specialists that you've brought into the team, or is that mainly it for right now?
For this camp, I started working with a strength and conditioning coach. So that's going to be a big difference you see in this fight is I've been working to improve my legs a lot in this fight. Just the strength and explosivity I have in my lower body because, I'm pretty like jacked up top and
Yeah.
I'm not as cut down below. I mean, I'm strong for sure, but just to get my legs like more conditioned, I've always had excellent cardio, but to improve that even more and just my speed and my explosiveness. And I like to use my cardio as a weapon. I like to really put the pace on girls and see if they can keep up because most of them cannot. And I hope to show that off in this fight. I hope it doesn't end too quickly because I really want to drag her into deep waters. I want to show, not only what a technical martial artist I am, but also just what a physical problem I am to deal with for these girls. I am an all natural athlete. I don't take any supplements. Illegal is what I mean. I mean I take protein
Yeah.
and I just eat really clean, spirulina, sea moss, things like that. But all natural. But I'm 5'11". I'm built. I have a great frame. So, and again, like really good cardio, and I really work on my conditioning and my physicality, and I am very naturally strong, and so just working to improve on the physical attributes that I already have. Yeah, I am really looking forward to our bodies are a weapon. This is our sword, and I've been sharpening it and sharpening it. So not only are you going to see more techniques in my skill set, but you're going to see some improvements in the physical aspect of the fight. You're going to see improvements in my physicality and my athleticism.
And for this fight, it is for the Uriah Faber's A1 featherweight championship. Does that add any more pressure onto this fight?
Again, that's something that my sports psychologist and I, we've talked about a lot, but no, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, it's just a fight. She's the same girl I
Yeah,
fought as an amateur. She's the same girl I fought this last time. It's just a fight. Um, and it's funny because once you go pro, it's only your pro record that ever gets talked about. So I'm 2-1, of course, as a pro,
yeah,
but I was 5-2 as an amateur. So altogether, I'm 7-3. All the fights matter. Like, what is the difference between a pro and an amateur fight? I mean, obviously the length of the rounds and the fact that you wear shin guards, but you only wear shin guards in the early fights, and then later in the amateurs, you don't even have to wear shin guards anymore. Um, Plus, no elbows in the amateurs, but honestly, I haven't thrown that many elbows in the pros. I mean, obviously, my last fight ended by elbows. That's an exception. But it's like, if it wasn't the elbows, it would have been, the fist. I mean, that fight would have gone the same way regardless. But like, a fight is a fight, and experience matters. And Carlene had one amateur fight, which was against me, and then she immediately went pro. So altogether, Carlene has had 4 fights. I've had 10. She's had 1 win and 3 losses. I've had 7 wins and 3 losses. Like, but again, I'm going off the rails. To answer your question, no, I'm not allowing the fact that this is a title fight to detract from anything or break my focus. It's just a fight, like all the other 10 fights I've had, and after this fight, it'll be on to the next one and on to the next one. So no, I'm not putting any extra pressure on myself, and I do think that's part of why I was a little tight in that last fight with her, and a little overeager on the cage, just like, get it back down, get it back down. And it's like, I just need to stay relaxed and do my thing, and that's
yeah.
it. The only woman who's gonna beat me is me. No other woman out there's beating me. It's only me that's beating me.
And you kind of touched into my point in your last answer. Do you feel like that experience that you've had all those more fights will play a part into this?
It does. It plays a huge part. And not only the 10 MMA fights that I've had, but something like the dozen Muay Thai smokers I've done, and hundreds of jiu-jitsu matches I've done. All of that matters because, again, the mental aspect of competing, it's huge, and just getting used to dealing with those nerves, and um, yeah, just experience. I have a lot more competitive experience than she does, so it does help me out. But again, I had a lot more experience than her going into the last fight, and she still managed to capitalize on an error. So, you know, can't take her lightly, but I do have quite the advantage in that area.
And with this event, if I'm correct, it's only 40 minutes from where you stay. Are
Yep.
you bringing
Mhm.
are you bringing a lot of fans to this event because it's so close?
I think so, but again, that's one of those things I'm just not thinking about too much. I post a lot about the fight. It's important to the promoters, obviously, that us fighters do our part to try to bring people in and put fans in the seats. So I'm doing my part as far as advertising and pushing it. And a lot of people have told me, like, oh, yeah, I'll be there. And I'm like, cool. But I'm not really counting, I'm not keeping track
Yeah,
because, again, I think it puts a little something extra onto me. And and that got to me in the last fight. It was my pro debut. There was like 100 people that came out to watch me, and it just put this extra pressure on me when there is no pressure. I'm not fighting for any of these people. I'm fighting for myself. I fight because I want to. End of
yeah.
story. And I think what was something that was really good for me is, okay, when I fought Carlene the first time, yeah, probably like 100 people came out. And then the next time I fought, maybe 10 came out. And that just kind of, in this last time, like maybe 20, came out.
Yeah,
And it just kind of is the lesson for me again, like, none of these people really care about my career. I care about my career. I mean, people do care about my career. Don't get me wrong, especially
yeah.
like my friends and my family and my students. Like, they do care, but no one cares like I care. And like, you know, the fans, that's just an external factor. And I can't think about external factors. I can't put any energy into that. It's about me, whether one person's watching me or whether a million people are watching me. It's just a fight. It's still just me in there. And at the end of the day, no one feels the pain of that loss like I do, and no one feels the thrill of that victory like I do. It's a very personal sport. So everything else is just noise, you know. It's about feeling good about myself, about feeling confident in my skill set, realizing that, of course, I'm not perfect and I'm never going to be a finished product. I'm always going to be working on myself as a martial artist and as a person, as an athlete. But I feel good about what I have, and I'm good with what I have. I'm good with who I am, and um, win or lose or choke or succeed, you know, I'm just human, and I'm out here and I'm doing my thing, and I'm having fun doing it.
Exactly, and that's the most important thing. And do you feel like with Uriah Faber's being on the UFC Fight Pass, that just brings more eyes onto you?
Definitely. In terms of my career and what I'm hoping to do as a fighter, which is, you know, go far. Yeah, the more exposure, the better. And so it's really great to be on UFC Fight Pass. And it's another reason I really like fighting for A1 because they're a very up and coming promotion, and they're doing a great job marketing their fights and getting the fights on Fight Pass and getting a lot of eyes on them. So um, very fortunate to have a high profile fight, and very fortunate to be on the platform that I'm on.
And I hear that you do have your own, you teach with jiu-jitsu as well. You've got your own school. How has that been?
It's been great. I opened the school almost 3 years ago now. It's called Willows Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. It's in the small town of Willows, California, which is an hour north of Sacramento. So I live here in Sacramento, and then I commute an hour up north and teach. And so, 2 hours in the car, which most people spend that amount of time in the car just because of traffic every day. So it's really not bad. And, it's just an easy commute, no rush hour traffic or anything like that to deal with, just cruise control on a podcast, and I'm there in no time. And yeah, small town vibes, and everybody knows everybody, and just good energy. It's really nice to have a job where I'm my own boss, make my own schedule, and do something that I really care about. So it's cool because I train in the morning, I'm working on stuff, and then I go up at night, and a lot of times I'm teaching my students the same things, or at least maybe like a simpler version of the things that I'm working on myself and in my training and in my camp. So it's cool because there's a lot of synergy. Everything works
Yeah.
together, and it keeps me very focused on the martial arts, and not just on being the best fighter I can be, but being the best martial artist and the best instructor that I can be too.
And what was it that got you into the cage? Like, what got you into the sport?
Well, originally it was just I was just looking for a workout because I was a little bit out of shape. I was a little chubby. And I was kind of in this weird spot after college where, I'd moved back home, and so my friend group, was back at school, and yeah, I was just feeling a little lost at that moment, and not super happy about where I was at physically. And anyway, my uncle had posted something about Ronda Rousey, and I went down this YouTube rabbit hole, like looking up like Ronda Rousey stuff, because I was like, "Who's this girl?" And there's this video of her like breaking Misha Tate's arm, and I'm like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I didn't want to break anybody's arms necessarily, but I was like, "What is that? I want to learn that." And I just Googled MMA gyms, and Uriah's popped up in Sacramento, and I mean, there was one other spot slightly closer to me at the time, but it wasn't much closer, and it looked like Uriah's was a really nice big gym, and they had a free class, and I was like, screw it, I'll just drive down there and try their free class. So I just went down there, jumped in, no idea what I was doing, but I met some people, including the girl who's my best friend today, and she was like, "Are you coming back?" And they were running a special that weekend where if you signed up for the whole year, you got a special rate. And I was like, yeah, I'll be back. And I just signed up for the whole year like a dummy. And the craziest thing is, at the time, I was living in this tiny little small town, like way up in the mountains. So I had to drive 2 hours to get to Sacramento. So I would drive 2 hours, train, and then drive 2 hours home again, just like an idiot, with no like real plan of like sustainability or how this is all going to work out. Luckily, gas prices were quite a bit cheaper 10 years ago, but it's still not great. I spent so much more in gas than I ever even did on a gym membership. But at the time, it was just exactly what I needed. It was getting me out of that small town. It was, providing me this, this social group, getting to know people, and just learning these skills that I was really excited about, and getting this workout in a way that, like I never would have gone to a regular gym and stuck with it, but this was so interesting to me that it's like I'm getting a fantastic workout without even realizing I'm getting a workout because I'm so into the sport and into what we're doing. And, just growing up as a country girl on a farm, like I've always been kind of like, just down to get dirty. And, yeah, the whole thing was just right at my alley. I started with jiu-jitsu, and then, just kind of went into the striking and got interested, in the boxing and kickboxing aspect of it. And, and I never in a million years would have thought I'd be a fighter or anything, but, it just slowly kind of developed on its own. Yeah, I remember like Uriah asking me if I wanted to fight, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about getting punched in the face, and that was my honest answer. It was like, I don't know how I feel about it, but you work up to it, you train, you learn some stuff, you start, sparring light, and yeah, you just work up to it. It all just kind of develops on its own. So, but it's crazy. For 7 years, I made that commute. I lived in that small town. I would drive down to Sacramento back and forth for 7 years. So, but I live in Sacramento now finally. And now I make the opposite commute up to Willows, but it's all good. I can't get off the freeway, but I'm still in the gym, and that's the part that matters.
And do you feel like that shows your dedication that even back then you were still willing to make that 4 hour round trip?
I always say where there's a will, there's a way. If you really want something, you're going to find a way to get it, period. Like anything else, that's just excuses, and I don't tolerate when people say like, well, I just don't have time, or I have this injury, or I have, this or that. Like, nah, if you really want it, you're going to figure out how to do it. And I've had, look, like in terms of injuries, like those are real and you need to take care of those. But look, I've dealt with so many different injuries. And the fact is, if you can't do one thing, you can do another thing. And that's part of the reason I got into striking, is because, I'd get some injury grappling and I wouldn't be able to grapple, but I wanted to still go to the gym. So then I'd be in the striking classes, because maybe whatever the injury wasn't allowing me to roll around, but I could hit the bag and I could, do the striking class and do the drills. So I don't know, one thing's hurt, work on a different thing. Everything's hurt. I don't know, maybe go for a run. Can't run, go for a swim. Like, find a way to get better. Find a workaround. There's people that do jujitsu that, are amputees, are, paralyzed from the waist down. There's people with cerebral palsy. I mean, look, if those people can find a way to do jujitsu and be martial artists, so can you, or me living 2 hours out in the mountains. Like, if you really want it, you're going to find a way to do it. And also, coming back to just being a fighter, you got to find a way to win in there. Like, look, you're not always going to be better than your opponent. Maybe your opponent is going to be better than you, but they're not better than you everywhere. Like, there's always a way. There's always some way to win. You just got to find it. I mean, hey, look at Carlene. Like, props to her. Like, I'm way better than her, but she found a way to beat me. So, like that's a martial artist right there. And that's what we all strive for. You got to find a way.
And we are coming up near the end of the year now. However, are you wanting to get back into the cage as long as all goes well in this fight before the end of the year?
Yes, the fact is I am in my 30s already, and I mean, I have plenty of time to go. I'm very healthy, I'm very fit, but as soon as I get this belt, I'm just going to use it to help me get more fights. Now girls are going to want to be more interested. They're going to be more interested in wanting to fight me. So, I just want to get as many fights as possible. I have some really good momentum right now. I'm on a really good roll. So yeah, if all goes well, and as long as I stay healthy, I want to just keep getting as many fights as possible. I would love another fight before the end of the year, and try to get 4 or 5 fights next year. I mean, I just line them up. I'm so happy that right after Kaya, Tom's throwing me back in there with Carlene. So shoot, if I could fight every 6 weeks, I'd be in hog heaven.
Well, that's great. And I wish you the best of luck for your fight. I know you're going to go and get that victory and take home that belt. Well, what I'll do
Thank you
is
so
I'll
much.
give you the final word. Anyone you're wanting to shout out?
Well, you know what? I appreciate all you fans, everybody who tunes in and watches. Without you guys, the sport wouldn't be possible. And no, I appreciate everybody's love and support, and I appreciate that I can be an inspiration to anybody, in any kind of way. We're all here on this earth, struggling, being people, trying to make ourselves better, and however I can help and we can all help each other, push each other forward and get better, that's really what it's all about. And if you guys, like what you hear and you want to tune in, you want to be a fan, I'm Killjoy Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, and I'll be on UFC Fight Pass September 6th. So, no, thank you to all my fans, friends, family, and my coaches and teammates, of course. And let's go do this.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you for coming on.